This is the Medicine Girl podcast with renowned healing expert and registered nurse Robin Stebbins. Every week, we shine the light on new ways to heal your body from the root, ignite your inner healer, and tap into your divine wisdom. Begin to live harmoniously with your mind, body, and spirit. You are stronger than you think, braver than you realize. Now is the time to wake up and start living healthier, wealthier, and laugh out loud happier. And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Medicine Girl podcast. It's me, your host, Robin Stebbins. And today I have my good friend, Reb Firman. And Reb, we're going to go all full gamut.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. First of all, introduce yourself, your name, we know. How do you know me, Reb? And just briefly, and kind of your experience with that. And then we're going to get into some hard questions.
Okay. I met Robin through a friend of mine named Tanya Duvachel, who invited me up to do a session that I had no idea what the session was about. It was I was going to do a heart opener, and we were going to discuss, my daughter had committed suicide about 5 months before, and it was for post-traumatic PTSD, really. And I didn't know how much of shock I was really in. I had no idea. And that was the start of a door opening that Robin is such a brave, you're very brave to do what you do, very brave. And to do therapy like that when you have, I've never had any experience with that, any of those, really, I was pretty straight. I never had any experience with any kind of mushrooms or anything. I just didn't know anything about it. And, but it was so revealing to me, and it opened up my heart enough to where I can never stop it now. I can never stop opening and learning about it, just knowing what love is, that it comes from inside you. Your love comes from inside you, and your spirit. The one thing in our session, can I talk about this a minute?
Everything, yeah, let's go.
Let's just lay it out. I was shocked because part of my, and I don't want to use any old labels or old, the old stories that you have in your head and what people tell you about who you are. I do know this, I'm a little different. I'm probably, there's spectrums of differences. We all are different. But my difference is I learned how to hide. I hid from people. And I did things to get by because I had a hard time connecting. And that was one of the main things that came out of that. I told you I was hiding, and you got right in my face. It was beautiful that to know that the old stories that you carry around and the old notions of who you are aren't who you are. It's not the authentic Reb. And the authentic Reb was hiding. And I have a great respect for you for doing that. It's difficult work. It's not fun to be around people that are it's like I was disconnected from the earth itself.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to be. I just was doing what, you grow up, and I grew up in a very Episcopalian, stoic. Feelings weren't, you go out there and do things. You just do it. You don't talk about your feelings too much. And yet I was a writer. Yet when I'm reconnecting with that now as a songwriter, I reconnect with my 10-year-old self, my fifth grade self. I was writing poetry that makes teachers cry. And they thought I had some talent. I didn't know that. I just thought I just wrote. I just saw I would see something and write it. And I'm reconnecting with that now because I am a songwriter. And with more than just it's just something I have to do. And I've won awards and been on shows. That doesn't matter. What matters is I love to do it. But also with this session, I learned that in my world, when I talked to you about it, that I saw myself being born. And I saw my spirit enter my mother. And when I said, they gave me an opportunity, the entities or the spirits of the spirit world said, do you want to be born? And I absolutely said yes. When I said yes, I was born. And the first thought, and you're talking to angels because you can't, obviously you don't have language, but I screamed, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And that's profound to think that we chose to be in this vessel, this body, that you take very good care of your vessel. And I've learned through you and through many other people since you to really pay attention to what I'm doing with my body.
That's an excellent, yeah.
I drink 2 quarts of water every morning before I do anything else. I hydrate, I ground. I like to walk barefoot now. I like to get up in the morning and walk barefoot. These things are all grounding. These things are all connecting me back with the earth, back with nature. And it's been a profound experience. So, but your bravery and your kindness is never going to be forgotten.
Well, I appreciate all those accolades, kindness, but it's most, I mean,
I tried to soften you up because give you some tough questions.
No, I don't take any of it in because it's all you that's doing the work. I'm just presenting you with what I see. So it's simple. You know, if I take in all the good stuff, I have to take in all the bad. And so I don't take in any of it. But what I really want to point out to is like, that's the point of being here on this planet, is to experience your heart into deeper and deeper layers of love and depth of understanding of who you are, this God self that you are. So you're God-godding. And in that, I hear a lot of people just calling their bodies a meat suit, or in the spiritual community, which, you know, I give zero credit to. I don't hold any weight in anything they say, because it's just another dogma. It's another paradigm. So this vessel that we are is a part of all of this. It's not just something that a meat suit that we can flop around and leave carelessly when we leave. It is a divine piece of God. And so as we're caring for our bodies, we have to listen to our bodies. We have to listen to the messages that are coming through. So if you have, like, for example, your heart is out of alignment electrically or something, usually I have noticed it's unresolved feelings with the mom. Usually it's a man with unresolved feelings for his mom, or if it's a woman, it's a different scenario. That's your heart talking to you. Yeah, it's your heart talking to you. So now that we're treating this vessel, this divine entity, my next question is then, what would make you make a decision to take an experimental unknown injected into this body?
I will tell you why. And I did. And you have every right to question me on this. And I just hope that I don't think there's any absolutes in this field. And to give you a little background on me, my first memory of life was I was going to die. I had measles, German measles in Texas, and I remember hallucinating so wildly, monsters, and it was just insane hallucinations, and freezing, and then hallucinating. This went on for 3 or 4 days. We were all living in this little room. And so I'm not anti-vax for measles. I'm just not. I'm sorry, I can't. I know that people are.
Yeah, we're not talking about, this isn't even a vaccine. I mean, we can go into that.
We won't have to go into that. But my mindset is, my sister, I hadn't spoke to her. I mean, she wouldn't let me come near her, see her for almost a year and a half. And she means a lot to me. And so I chose to do it for her so I could hug her and see her again. And it's not for me. And I also think I'm an old school guy from the 60s where there was an old Steppenwolf song that says I popped a lot of pills and I did a lot of, I took a lot of drugs, I popped a lot of pills, but I never did nothing that my soul couldn't kill. And my soul is not going to be killed by this vaccine. It's not. I have no doubt in my mind that it's not affecting me at all that way. But there are people who believe it does, and I know that you're on the side of probably a different angle of that, and that's okay. I hope that there are no absolutes in all of this. I made a decision. It's probably not, and there are people, I've lost friends over it. I've lost friends over this.
I think that's mostly the point of it, Reb.
I've lost friends. I've lost, now I'm being accused of spreading COVID. I've lost 2 friends just recently because.
So let me just ask you this though, that does that make sense to you? You got a vaccine. It's not it can't be called a vaccine. It's a therapeutic. They don't even really know what it does. This is the experimental phase, and they're experimenting on everyone that's getting it, which, is fine if you want to be an experimental subject in this giant experiment. That's totally cool. I think the most important point, Reb, and what we'll get into, the reason I want to talk to you is when we're talking about our bodies, and you're so proud of the fact that, you've lost this weight and you're looking so much better and you're feeling so much better and you can feel your heart so much more. That still requires a level of discernment. So if you're drinking a gallon of water with lemon juice every morning, or a quart, or however much, it doesn't matter. How do you feel? Your body feels good. Your body livens up. So keep doing that for you. That's working for you. And if that's your thing, do that. But that requires that discernment. So the discernment in all of this becomes what is right for me. What is right for my body's sovereignty. And only you, Reb, can answer that. And so I think the point of all of this is not.
We're sovereign people. We're sovereign people. I'm a sovereign person. I can choose what I want to do.
You are, and you're not. You're not, because you did this because somebody else told you to. So we all have layers and layers and layers.
I just wanted to hug my sister. That was it.
Yeah.
That's it. But
there's no.
And yet, in despite of this is another issue that I think we need to discuss, is that I got a positive test on Thursday for COVID.
So then that was my next question. How could you possibly gotten a positive test if you took this vaccine to prevent you from transmission, which it doesn't prevent transmission, it doesn't prevent the spread, it doesn't prevent anything except for somebody somehow came up with an idea that your symptoms are less. But somehow we've shut down the world for something you had a 99.9% chance of recovering from. The people that didn't recover from were already going to go. If people go right along with me as a home health nurse, and I am done sugarcoating this, you would be shocked that these people are still alive. Then you give them a flu, doesn't matter what it is, some type of poisoning extra in the fall or the spring, they're going to go anyway. They're barely hanging on with a thread. So continuing on that line of thought, the sovereignty means you got to decide, but call it true. What I ask people to do is not say, well, I had to because someone told me to. I was like, that's not true. I decided to inject my body because I wanted to hug my sister and I couldn't tell her otherwise.
That was my only reason. I didn't want to.
Let me ask you this.
I hear what you're saying. I know exactly how you feel, and I respect that. I hope you can respect my decision.
Well, I think, I don't know if you're listening to the point of this. The point is not to say the vaccines are good or bad. The point isn't to say COVID's real or isn't. The point is to divide the country. which they've done a
Yes.
beautiful job of. But, you know, if it's
And
not
here's an example of
Democrats
this.
or Republicans, it's your line in,
All of
in
it.
the cement
It's all
over
of
your medical.
Let me share with you what's happened. I went to yoga on Tuesday. I felt great. I'm fully vaccinated. It was a spread out class. We were 6 feet apart. No one was close. I didn't hug anybody. I rolled up my mat and went home. On Thursday, I get a positive test result. I'm feeling great. My numbers, by the way, all my numbers, my A1C, all of it were better. I've lost you somehow. But all of my numbers are the best I've ever had. I think I had 113 blood sugar, which normally in the morning it was like 180 all the time. It was 113. So I'm almost down to 100. I'm almost down to normal with just changing my diet, just sticking with a really strict diet. But the other thing is my blood pressure was 110/60. My all the numbers were good. It was phenomenal. I felt the best I've ever felt. The doctor asked me what I'm doing. He asked me what I'm doing because I look so good. And
Is your doctor in shape and fit?
No, the doctor's a East Indian guy. I love him. He's a nice man, but he doesn't pay attention to. He's not a vegan. He doesn't.
Does that make sense to you also, Reb, that you're taking
No.
medical advice from someone that's not physically fit or healthy?
I am going to switch doctors. But at this moment, I just wanted to get this stuff done. And so my good friend, has accused me of giving her COVID because I didn't call her that day and tell her that I had got a COVID test. And she got COVID on Friday or Saturday. And she says, well, if you'd have told me, I would have gone to the doctor right away and I would have told my husband to stay home. And now we all have COVID. And then one of her friends got COVID, and her mother, who has congenital heart failure at 75, and she's obese and she's got diabetes. She's saying, well, if my mother dies, it's your fault. This is what's going on in our country right now.
Yeah, that's what's going on is fear, though. Do they have symptoms? The next question is, do they have symptoms?
Yes, they do. They have headache and they're in bed. They're tired. Are they dying? Nobody's dying.
Is that any different from regular?
No. The only symptom I had, and I played music on Friday night. We stayed up late. We played really long. So I did sleep on Saturday. I slept in, and I slept a little on Sunday because I was tired. But I was tired because we were going hard. We were up. We were playing. We were having a good time. I don't drink alcohol, so it wasn't from alcohol. It was whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, I'm going to go to yoga to get revised, get going again, get the system going again. But to be accused of this is what the divide is. It's not. It's the fear and the unknown, and it's trying to divide us by saying, "Oh, you didn't tell me." Am I supposed to tell everybody I met from Thursday? I probably was with I don't know how many people. 20 people.
Well, Reb, can I just say something? What we're talking about here, we don't need to go into the nitty gritty, but what we're talking about here is no longer being in a state of division, but they've done a clear and beautiful job of giving us a million different ways to divide ourselves. Democrat, Republican, who you voted for, who you didn't. Now it's this alleged COVID. So let me just say one thing, and then we can move on to something about solution oriented.
That's good.
So far to date, they've never actually seen a virus. See, the way they've isolated a virus is they take an infected person's snot, they add it, they draw it out, they add in a bunch of other materials, and they grow it on a monkey's kidney. That's standard. And they add in antibiotics and a few other things. And then what decomposes in that Petri dish, they're calling a virus. I don't think any sane person on the planet would say, yeah, it looks like you found your virus, your smoking gun. In all of the years that they have taken snot, infected snot, let's say I'm exhibiting a cold-like symptoms. I've got runny, yellow snot coming out of my nose. I'm coughing. I've got a sore throat. So they've taken that snot from my nose, put it in a little syringe and injected it into a healthy person. And how many times do you think that a healthy person got sick? And I don't, who knows how many times they've done it? Thousands.
It's
Goose egg, zero. Okay. So then let's just do one more thing and then we can move on. So in that, this PCR test that they're testing you and saying you're positive, you're negative, even though people don't have symptoms. What they're testing is exosomes. That's just something in the intercellular matrix. It's cellular material. Either, the cell lysed and release the exosomes, or they've already been in there, or whatever, millimeter radiation, who knows? That's what they're testing for. If they test it 20 amplifications, you're negative. Anything more than that, it's positive, negative, and anything I think over 40, it's positive. So they're able to make up those results however they want. Now they've got contact tracing. So if you're positive, they can say, with your phones, who are you in contact with? And they can give them positive results. Not to say they would, they have that ability to. So you didn't test positive for anything. Your friends that are accusing you didn't test positive for anything.
Very, very stirred up and very sad because of the reaction. And my reaction was, well, I'll just stay away from people. And I didn't want to call up the people because I was vaccinated. Why would I call them? I'm going to make them worry. Is it going to help them? How's it going to help them?
But you're trying to use logic, and it has nothing to do with common sense or logic or what's actually happening. It's all about control. So when we're really talking about, you're waking up to your heart, yes?
Yes.
And you're waking up to what freedom actually is. Freedom comes from within, just like love comes from within. I can't give you love. I can't give you the feeling of love. You accept that and you create that from within. Because it's already there. We are love. Well. We embody love. Yes, yeah. There's no two ways about it. Same with any invaders, whether it's fear or whether it's stress or anger from other people. We allow that perception to say, well, they were cruel or they were this or we allowed that perception into our energy field. So with all of this, when you're putting in that gorgeous filtered water and lemon juice every morning and you're doing your work and you're, connecting with other people in heart space, connecting how that feels. Even if you're playing music late, you might be a little tired the next day and have a headache, whatever. It's worth it because you're in your heart contentment. Yes. You're in your heart space. You're navigating yourself to your North Star. So now,
one thing I've always admired about you is that your internal love, you love yourself, and only from self-love can you love. In the morning, my morning ritual is to look in the mirror and say, I love you, you are beautiful. And I look right in my eyes until I start laughing because I get my eyes to twinkle and and in so doing, I become people see my love. It's phenomenal. It's like, how did that happen? My mind changed the little program in my head.
That's it. That's what I mean.
Changed it. And so because I'm an observer of people and I watch people that are healthy and I think I want to be like them. I want to be, they're showing me a way. What are they doing? What is their program? How do they get there? And the other thing is when I take a picture, if it's that say cheese, it doesn't, but if I say I love you to the camera, I just think I love you.
Yes, that's it. And you can capture that love.
And so your smile, I can see your smile there because I'm saying I love you. I'm saying it to myself. I also love you, obviously. I love you, but I can't love you without loving myself. It comes from here.
Let's not, there's no, like you just said, there's no absolutes. That's not true. I can love somebody, and that's how I experienced unconditional love. was when my son was born. I hadn't felt it before. I didn't know what it was until I saw him. That taught me unconditional love. Like we taught each other. So there's no absolutes in this. And people are nothing but parrots right now. All I see on Facebook and Instagram are people just parroting other quotes and this quote and that quote and memes. It's like, I want to know what you think. I want to know what lights you up. I want to know what your heart has to say about this light. So when we're talking health and wellness, Reb, like getting, like opening your heart enough to experience and let in love and beautiful energy and all these positive things that we're doing. But what are the other ways that we connect? Well, we treat our body like a divine temple. And so that's the segue is you make these amazing pollen spices and all sorts of other things. First of all, how did you get into that?
I will tell you how I got into this, and I've thought about this carefully for many years. I had a grandmother that I loved, and I loved her because she had the money and the power. She had the big car. People would go to her. She was like the godmother. She was like, you wanted something done, you wanted a loan, you wanted to help, you went to Grandma Mina. We called her Mina. She would not go by Grandma. She said, if you kids disrespect me, you're gonna have to call me Grandma. And we get all excited. Oh, what? Mina, we can't do that. We had to call her Mina. She loved Mina. And so I knew her as Mina all the time. And Mina had learned how to collect pollen from some people from Cornell University had come out to Wenatchee, Washington in the early 30s, 1930 or so, 1929, and taught these women, and these are women, it was during the Depression or coming close to the Depression, where they would take a jar and pick apple blossoms and rub the apple blossom over the jar, the little screen, and the anthers would fall down into the jar, and they would dry them. They'd lay it out. So all these women were doing this finger-picking work, thinning the apple trees, because they had grown solid blocks of Red Delicious. And the solid blocks of Red Delicious wouldn't cross-pollinate because there was no pollen. You had to have cross-pollination to set the fruit. So they were dependent on these women to extract the pollen from certain varieties to put onto the Red Delicious to make the apple. And they would do it by hand. They would actually use a hand brush and brush it onto each blossom, the king blossom, to make the fruit. And so my grandmother, very wisely, in 1933, has gone on for a few years, she decided to go into business for herself and became the first commercial collector of pollen in the world that she knows. That was her claim to fame. And whether or not it's true doesn't matter. It's her story. That's a great old story. We all loved it. We're very proud of her for that. But I realized that, and over the years it changed. It became mechanicalized. There was better ways to collect it. It grew, and the machines got better, and everything, as businesses do, they grow and evolve. And hers is no different. But I noticed that she was the one with the money. She was the one with the power. She was the one that I was drawn to. Her strong will, and she was very good with people. She would look you right in the eye. She'd look man right in the eye. I watched her fire a man right in front of me one time. She would just say, "You didn't show up. You're drunk. You're out of here." Just fire. Boom. And he'd try to argue with her. She just said, "Get out of here. We're done." She showed me leadership. And I took to her, I bought her a bread bowl. I bought her a silver bread bowl one time. I don't know why I did this. I was picking apples at the time. I was going to college, and I thought, Grandma makes bread. I'm going to buy her a big old bowl for me. I just craziest thing. And somehow I became endeared to her. She liked me. And it wasn't intentional. I just liked my grandmother. I was just trying to do something nice for her. And I ended up, my cousin quit to go into business for himself against my grandmother, and she needed help. And I was just getting out of aircraft mechanic school. I was an aircraft mechanic, and was going to go to Alaska and do the Jack London thing and write. I was going to be a writer. My whole thought was I'm going to be a writer up in Alaska and I'm going to fly planes. But my grandmother needed my help. So I went to California instead and started collecting cherry pollen and plum pollen. And we learned, she taught me how to collect almond pollen, all of them. She taught me a very artistic business. It's very, you spread anthers out and you dry it, you get these anthers and you have to screen it. There's a lot of it was very physical. It was very hands-on, the pollen. And I loved pollen because it wasn't harming anything. I wasn't putting poison into the ground. I wasn't working with chemicals or fertilizer. I just, the thought of how you can increase a fruit set by adding pollen and working with bees, putting the pollen in front of the bees so they crawl through it. So the whole process became, you become endeared to it in part because of the scent of the pollen. You're smelling it, you're breathing it, you're working around flowers all the time. You're outdoors in the spring. And the money. Let's be honest here, because you got thousands of acres, and people buy at $70, $80 an acre some pollen. But you can imagine, you can the momentum of the business is growing, and I saw the potential.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it. And the other thing, it kept me away from the people, my people problem, because I had trouble connecting. I had trouble, I would have been hard pressed to do anything else as successfully. And I kind of knew that. I kind of knew I was different, that I had to, the working with pollen and working in kind of an esoteric or very different kind of business, it soothed me. And I felt confident. And then my grandmother taught me confidence. We would drive down, I drove her everywhere. And she would just stop and say, "Stop, I'm going to see this farmer in here." I didn't even know this huge farm. She'd walk right up to him, introduce herself, say what she had to say. Suddenly they'd become friends. They'd give her things. They'd buy some pollen from her. It was amazing. And of course, back then there were no cell phones. It was a totally different world. The world
I know. I remember.
The world we live in now is totally different. And so I was very fortunate to have a grandmother that, and I worked for her. She was 81 when I started working for her, and she had a stroke at 85. So about 5 years I worked with her directly and drove her. And she actually lived at my house for a while. Became very close to her, and I also learned, she had a lot of flaws. She was a very, very tough person and could be very selfish.
Oh.
Because it was just the nature of their reality is so different than ours now. We can't imagine. We can't judge those people by the modern era. We are hurtling into this unknown faster and faster. The old, like you told me all these old stories and they are old stories. We have to evolve, and I think the way we do business now is so different. The way we handle all of it is
But it doesn't have to be.
But the similarities are still person to person, connecting with people, doing your best, getting the best product, providing the best service, and hopefully sending them more fruit and nuts. And we do a lot of pistachios. We do a lot of kiwi fruit. We sell kiwi fruit all over the world. Pollen. I grow my own kiwi. I have a kiwi farm to grow male kiwis for pollen. We grow our own fennel pollen now. We go up to Benicia area, to your area, and gather it in the wild all over.
And what are some of the benefits of pollen besides the obvious?
I'm proud of this one thing. I developed this little brand here. This advertising. Anyway,
it's good stuff, though. I'm all for anything that. Yeah, I can see it.
Because this fennel pollen, it comes in little tins. It's the anthers of the fennel plant. You pick it while it's in the wild. We picked it all summer long.
Yeah.
And we had crews out all over the Bay Area, and we pay them by the piece rate. We give them money for the flowers that they bring us.
Yeah.
And they do, usually the pickers do very, very well.
Does it harm the plant to pick the?
No. Well, there is a weed. Basically, it's a noxious weed.
Hey.
Fennel is a noxious weed, but it's one of the most pleasant as far as, and this is the one I developed. My grandmother did not do this. I did this. This is a dill pollen we get up in Washington State. We work with a big grower up there, and he allows us to pick flowers around the edges, and we're able to get all that. But that business has grown, and since I started in 1999 with that business, and I think my first year's sales were $2,500, and now I don't even know where we're at. Is well over. It's a lot. It doesn't matter.
Good. Yeah. Well, it does matter. All of it matters. All of it matters. Abundance matters. Wealth matters because when you're heart-centered, and this is my point. This is my point of being heart-centered and waking up in the heart is you can now do beautiful things with that abundance, with that wealth, with that money. That's heart-centered, not the hungry ghost-centered, which has gotten us into this disaster in the first place, or this hungry ghost that will never be satisfied. You're doing what satisfies your soul, what satisfies your heart. That is so
true. And that is true of my art. I figure my business is pollen business and the fennel and dill pollen, and now we do this. I get one more thing. I bought this business last year, the smoked olive oil business.
That's delicious. You gave me one of those for Christmas. And yeah, I didn't like it. I loved it.
Oh, good.
Well, Reb, just to go back to your olive oil. Yeah. Hang on, go back to your olive oil, because yes, what I want to say about olive oil is in the blue zones around the world, that's one of the common denominators is they consume olive oil. But because of the hungry ghost mentality, now people are counterfeiting olive oil using cottonseed oil or using corn oil or disastrous things like canola oil that will ruin any health. So this is why I was so excited to get this little bottle of olive oil from you, because I knew it was olive oil.
It's real.
The last thing you want to do is like partake of something that's healthy and have it be a poison to your body because they're using these unscrupulous business practices. So that's what, when you say like, yeah, we do business differently. What if we went back to a combination of your heart and Mina's, kind of my way or the highway, gun toting, boom, boom, 6 guns of blazing.
You'd actually really liked her. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet.
I do have something I'm kind of wary about that. I'll show you this. It's so good though. The smoked brown sugar, even though it's not good for you.
No, it is not.
It's not good for you, but for certain dishes.
Say like grilling salmon. Like I will use occasionally a little bit of brown sugar when I grill Northwest style salmon.
If you did, well, we have whiskey smoked brown sugar now, and we have smoked brown sugar, and we got chili smoked brown sugar. These are all being sold at Sur La Table. And
do you remember what I asked you last time, Reb, about that the smoked brown sugar? I said, why don't you, since now you know better, why don't you have like smoked monk fruit or something to that, that won't really...
Robin, I will do that. I will give that a try. That's a good idea.
Give it a try, yeah. And for those that are...
I know sugar for me is just deadly. I just can't
It is for everyone. I haven't seen anyone get away with it, including myself and kids.
And I know in a small amount, like you put a little small amount on, and I don't do salmon anymore, but if I did do salmon, I just put a small amount on the dill pollen, and I'm sure it would be
amazing.
Very, very tasty.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you a story about that. I went down to the Vintage Press, and I shouldn't say this out loud. I'm going to anyway. I'm sorry, Mr. Bartanian, if you get mad at me. I will say this: he is in a restaurant that cooks with the butter and the sugar and the the cream and the dairy and the meat. And I'm sure it's fabulous food. If you ate that food, you would be blown away how good it is. But he's gained like 40 pounds. He looks like he's a heart attack waiting to happen.
Well, and it's not hard to make food taste good when you use butter and sugar and flour and pork and bacon and all of that. Yeah, it tastes good, but that doesn't mean it's good. Yeah,
It's not good at all. You can look at him and tell.
It's poison.
And it's poison. And I will try monk. You know what? I'm going to try something alternative.
Or we could just, we could experiment with some things that are more conducive to that, like something that's organic and sustainably harvest. And so what if it's a little more expensive? I would buy it because I'm not using it that often. It's good value. I'd have to try some other things that was that's the only product I have that I'm not really, my heart's not in it. I do it because we sell so much of it. But I wish there was another. Well, we bought the business, so we were doing it. But I don't have to do. I can change this. I will. You can. It is on my
heart. I got to upgrade. I got to change this. It's on my heart because it is so in this day and age of inflammation, and we get inflammation from the sugars and the things we eat or we don't do, and we ignore that, but you cannot ignore that.
Yeah.
Even the littlest thing, you ignore it, and you're, it's hard on your body. And this, I kind of feel like I'm listening a lot to Lori Ladd. Shout out to Lori Ladd there. But anyway, her theory, her thought was, one of them was, our bodies are the universe, and our thoughts between our ears is what creates our universe. This is our world. This is what we do. This body is how we reflect out. This is who we are. And to take care of this vessel, your spirit's inside this vessel. And this vessel, if it's healthy and working and everything's going together, it's a fabulous place to be.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, Reb. And this I just listened to. I knew it and I've seen it with my third eye. We have these little tentacles that come off us, these energetic tentacles. And there's been more and more studies out that within 6 feet, we can resonate within one another and share energetic experiences. So you could catch my feelings of self-love and feelings of happiness and joy, or alternatively, you can catch someone's feelings of anxiety and fear and the sky is falling and, let's prepare anger or whatever. So that's another way to keep yourself in sovereignty and healthy, is that people that are interfering with that energetic field, and I think it goes way beyond 6 feet. That's how we know when somebody's going to call us on the phone before they call us. You just get that energetic link up between these little fibers that come off us and the fibers of another. So that's another way, like when you're around the pollen and you've got that feeling, your face and your voice changes because you're connecting energetically with the trees, with the pollen.
That's amazing. So the people that work for me in the pollen, when they're stirring the pollen and they're spreading it out and there's pollen everywhere, it's alive. It's so alive in that shed. They're happy. Their happiness increases. They like to work. They like to stay late. They like the smell of it. It becomes into their skin, into their bodies. Yeah. When I picked fennel the first time, and I did want to bring up the article I have on fennel, which I hope will be on my website soon. I'm posting up this article that this woman wrote about fennel is so remarkable, that snakes, when they shed their skin, will go through fennel stalks. They will use the stalk to shed their skin to pull it up. Also the sap. I don't know if you can hear me. We're still on. There we go. Yeah. The sap from the fennel stalk will get in their eyes. It's black. When I picked it, I'd have these black marks all over my arm. Little black, like resin, like it's resiny. But that was what would get the snake's eyes to open up and see. It's the vision. And fennel, my vision now and this also, I think, because I eat a lot of medicinal mushrooms. I'm 20/20. I don't need readers. I'm 67 years old. I shouldn't need readers. I don't need readers. I can see clearer now than when I was 20. And I think it's from the fennel and from the pollen and from the mushrooms that I eat.
And I would like to add one thing to that. You've energetically allowed yourself to see what you were hiding from.
Oh, yes.
So that's another way.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
That was powerful. And to know, and who am I hiding from? I'm hiding from me. I'm hiding from the true me.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to see me. I was afraid of me. I was afraid of, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not, and all that is, I'm done with all that. I'm done with that. When I go out and play music now, yeah, I'm not a good singer. I know I can't sing. I sing because I love it, and it comes out as love. And people enjoy what I'm doing. I'm writing my own songs. I'm doing, songwriting to me was an expression of my authentic self. And my songwriting has changed after I've met with you. It's changed. I have become.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
I've become much better, much more communicative. I'm understanding that this is a communication. It's a communication. I have a song coming out on Alice Howe's album with Freebo, and it's going to be a single. It's coming out next March. And I have 2 songs on Monty Byram's new album. I just won the best country song in the West Coast Songwriter Competition. But it's because of the work.
It's because now you're not afraid to show your authentic self and your authentic heart. And it's just fun now. It creates its own momentum. It's like, you break the seal.
When you let down with, one of my things is I had to be famous. I had to be somebody. I wanted to be like a writer, like somebody like Jackson Brown or somebody you respected. And so you're working hard and you're trying to be this guy.
Yeah.
But the guy you need to be is you. This is your truth. The truth is in here.
Yes.
No one wants to hear your version of somebody else. They don't care. But they would care if you said something really truthful. And
that's it. But you're also what you're talking about. Like I've heard you sing, and when it's from the heart, I don't care how much in tune it is or how depth the voice is or how polished it is. Like Beyonce, I don't want to hear her sing ever. Or any of these people that are so polished and the music is so synthesized. It doesn't do anything for me. But when I hear someone singing their own song from their heart, which is a perfect analogy for what I would love to see in the world. Like my version of solving all of this is just for people to know who they are in truth and to sing their soul song.
To sing their song, not anybody else's. To do your truth. Come on.
Yes.
Say your truth. It's
and
hard
we respect everyone's truth. I butt heads with people that are just parroting things they've heard and parroting things and memeing and here's what this person said. No, I don't have anything to say to that. I want to know what you believe, what you feel from your soul when it's awakened to your truth and your authenticity as a human being in this dimension, as well as an energetic being that's infinite, that cannot be destroyed or created. So all of that encompassed through us.
Can I talk about infinite for a minute?
Yeah.
This is my room. You actually see in my bedroom. This is where I dwell as a.
This is your dwelling.
My dwelling. And I have spent many nights alone. May I live alone, pretty much. I do have some roommates now that are just wonderful people, and I love them. But this gives you a lot of time to think, because there's only 224 people that live here. It's very quiet. I love the quiet. I just love it. But you start thinking about things, and one thing I thought was the now. The now we live. The now we want to access, in the universal now, is not possible without the infinite. The infinite, we have to have infinite possibilities to be with it in the now. And we live in the not now. The not now is the light, the reflection. We are dreamers. We're dreaming this dream. It's a dream. We can only reflect back what we take in. So we're reflectors. We're dreamers. We are in the not now. The now is probably absolute zero and absolute blackness. It's a black hole. a black hole is the seed. And I had this dream when I was drinking all this water, that the water, this is funny, Robbie, I'm gonna kick it. I think it's funny, that water told me, we created the universe. I said, water, you're very egotistical. How could you be creating the universe? He goes, with just a drop. It started with a drop and it just expanded. And I thought to myself, that's as crazy as, of course, it's based on nothing but my dream, but I thought, what a beautiful...
But that's it for everything. The universe has already given us the answer. I don't need to be a universal scientist or... That cuts me from source. What we see happening is an expansion and a contraction with everything, including rocks, including the ocean as a being, including my breath, including whatever you want to say. This universe is expanding.
We are all divine. We're all part of the divine.
We are the divine. Yes.
We are the divine. And
yes.
And so knowing this, but there are infinite, we have to have the infinites to make it work. The infinite has to be, so in knowing that, since we are infinite spirits, we are infinite love, and we can access that if we allow us to access it, to breathe in the pollen, to breathe in the creation, the start of something, take a little drop of water, put it on a seed, and it starts to grow. Simple things. It's very simple, it's all basic stuff, but
that's it. But we also use ourself, like when you see it with the pollen, when you see it with what you're doing with the pollen, with the infinite of the universe within myself, within outside myself. There's no universe out there. It's here. Right here is what I can observe right now. I am the universe. This is the universe in motion.
Yes.
I am creating my experience through the universe. When you talk to me, I experience it from within. If you touch my skin, I experience it from within my being. So we are these two cells, these two universal cells looking at each other, seeing how we experience the universe, because I don't know who I am unless I have other entities to interact with. If it's just me, one cell floating through the universe with nothing else to observe or compare or connect, I don't know what I am. You see, like that's why we're here in this heart space. We're here to know that in this being that I am, I have a finite time on this planet. I have a finite time with my son. That's what makes it so precious. That's what makes me so intent on making the most of each and every moment here. Because when I leave this realm, when I die, this will seek to be precious. Because I will remember everything. I will remember all my infinite lives. So this one won't be special. In the sense that everything will then be special.
Every moment. I had a friend tell me this, and I think it's true, that you're busy doing something and you're worried about time. They said you have all the time in the world. At any moment, you have all the time in the world. So if we rush something, we rush a moment, we rush something because we're worried about the future, the past, or what we need to be doing, or how it appears. Say to yourself, I have all the time in the world to get this task done, to open this tin or whatever I'm doing. I have all the time in the world. I don't need to rush this. When I perform, I take a deep breath and I say to myself, I have all the time in the world. These people want to hear me play. They're here, they're listening. Just do it. Just allow it, flow out of you. Do not rush. And when I start rushing, I mentally say, okay, I have all the time in the world. Yeah. Every word, everything, you've worked on these crafts, you've crafted your little songs, and it's important because it is infinite. Every infinite moment, Robin, when I see you, I see creation. I see you are radiating out just a lot of power, and it's beautiful to see. It's like seeing something, just this energy field that's so radiating. That is. And I know that took a lot of work. I respect it. I respect the work. And just like me, when I'm radiating out, I know that I did a lot of work. I've done a lot of yoga. I've done a lot of walking. I've lost 60 pounds. I've changed I still got ways to go. I'm not done.
We'll never be done, thank God.
And never done. But when we have a moment together, we see each other, it's infinite moments. Your eyes are so beautiful, and I feel the infinite of them. And it's an infinite moment that we can be aware of and just cherish, because we have all the time in the world. And in infinity, when our spirits move on from this body, that's an infinite moment we will always share. Our little time here, the time we've known as human beings, whoever it's with, your son, your daughter, anybody, it's an infinite moment. And and you can access that in my mind. I access my relatives that have passed on. I access them. I know that they're here. They're with me. They make fun of me. It's fun. But we access all of this because we're also now. It's like the infinite is also now. It's also instantaneous.
Yeah, absolutely. So the time is not linear. That's just our perception of it that we've been taught. But it's not linear, and it's just all kind of this unknowable. And so I can't in this form figure this universe out, but I can tap in as deeply as I can to who I am in this moment. Do you believe, like I read the Toltec books of wisdom and Don Ruiz, and one of his thoughts is that now I'm getting tired. I got to think about this one. My point was, come on, Reb, that we are dreamers and we are artists. Our life is our art. So we are, if we live my life as an art, that to me gives me satisfaction. It's not about money. It's not about any of those. It's about my art. If I create a beautiful product that people love, I'm happy. Yes.
I like this dill pollen on salmon or dill pollen on potatoes. Let's say potatoes or anything on your tomato. It makes people happy.
Yes.
They love it. That's my art. My art is to produce this, to make it happen, to make people happy. I love employing people. I love helping their families out. I love that. It's a beautiful world to be in, to be able to create, and not create something that is something people need and use and they like. And it's hands-on for me, so I like that part of it. But we are artists, and you're creating your world. Your art is your son and your world and your Airbnb and your health, and this podcast, which will be wildly successful. After my interview, they'll say, "Oh, the guy was so good."
Well, I think, Reb, let's hone it back into what I really want to point out in all of that, all that we've been talking about, everything it's just pare it down to the simplest common denominator. When I'm doing anything from my heart, from a sense of like, I love to do this, then all of this energetic field around me creates that love and vibrates with that love. And so that's all I have to do to be of service to this planet. I don't need to go out and help someone. That was my toxicity, thinking I could help people. That you can't help anyone. I can just take this being that I am and be as clear of a conduit and be as happy as I feel in this moment. If I'm sad, I'm going to express my sadness, but that's just all part of the beauty that I see in this planet. And then that's how we create what we want to see in the world. We don't have to do necessarily anything, but the pollen is this expression of you. So if you're doing it with love, that permeates to all the pollen that you're selling. That permeates to your employees, that permeates to their families. Like, look how it blossoms out in that beautiful, positive way, as opposed to
so true.
chasing the American dollar and trying to be rich and trying to be some famous or, pick your poison. When we're just doing it because I love to do it, and whether I'm acknowledged or not, it's irrelevant. That's what we do to change things. And so I have to just, this is a funny question. Would Mina have taken the vaccine?
No. No.
That's, yeah.
She would have said,
Respect.
she would not have, no. She
Okay.
would not have done it. Now,
Just
I
curious.
say that, now, she's not here to defend herself, so I just think,
Yeah.
knowing my grandmother, she would have just thought it was a bunch of hooey.
Thank you.
But the other
Just
problem
curious,
is,
just curious.
now, here's another thing about me. My grandfather was a Christian Scientist, very devout.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story about this, because we are talking about faith, and we are talking about beliefs and how that can affect your mind. Obviously, a Christian Scientist, the old school ones, were very into Mary Baker Eddy and praying away your, if you have vision problems, you pray. If you have you don't go to the doctor. My grandfather died at 81, never ever going to a doctor once, never. And he just one day just died.
How old was he?
And so I thought he did very well, but he was in pain a little bit, and he would never say anything about it because he would never admit to being in any kind of pain. But I think there's a beauty to what he did, and there's also the flip side of it. My father and my uncle both wished that he had gone in and found out what was wrong with his stomach, because he had an ulcer, probably. He had something wrong that hurt him, and he would never complain. He just couldn't do a lot of things sometimes. So they were very much into science and, the modern whatever the modern 50s medicine was, or 60s medicine was. It wasn't very modern. It was very, very archaic. And
Nor is it now.
it's really, God,
Let's keep it though this. Let's go back to Grandpa. Grandpa had something wrong with his stomach. He lived his life the way he wanted. I'm not going to the doctor, but his sons are like, well, you should have done this. You should have gone through. No, but that's how, if we could separate it out and say, Grandpa, you spirit your life the way you want. I still love you. I still respect your choices.
I totally respect
right now, if we can bring it to right now, whether somebody has gone against your personal idea of what is right or wrong, can you still love them? Can you still listen to them? Can you still be in the same room and have a conversation? I say, let's try that. Let's stop drawing these lines in the sand. It's the same coin. It's the same coin. If I could just say that first, it's the same.
That's a beautiful point.
Coin.
And my grandmother would say to you, I was more of a Christian Scientist than Vernon. She never took anything but an aspirin, very rarely an aspirin. She never drank. She went to the doctor one time, I remember. She was very, very much not into going to the doctor. That's probably why she lived to be 87 and did very well, but was healthy almost all the way to the end. But the Christian Science part of it, and it can get very. One of the stories I was told that one of Vernon's relatives was having a baby, and she was a Christian Scientist, and they did not bring in a doctor, and it was a breech baby, and she died in childbirth, and the baby died, and they had her bite a piece of leather during this very painful experience. And Mina turned her back on the Christian Scientist religion for that. She said that woman should have lived. There was no way they should have not brought in a nurse or a doctor. And Vernon's faith was strengthened. He said, look at the power of her faith and her belief. She did not go to a doctor. She held true to her faith. So which one of those extremes are true is up to you to decide, and for you to know that if you choose to never go to a doctor and to be totally against it, that is a choice. And it's a beautiful choice. It's a choice of faith and a choice of what you want to do and what works for you. But
let me dissect it.
Other people may view it differently. They might say you could have lived had you done something. So these choices, these are things that are, and I've thought about this very deeply. I think my grandfather being very, very devout, it strengthened his faith. It strengthened him, but my grandmother became cynical. and said,
but
I'm not going to do that.
It's the idea. It's the idea that going to the hospital would have somehow had a different result. Since we started delivering babies in hospitals, the infant mortality rate has skyrocketed to a dizzying amount. The number of C-sections has gone up to, I think, 40% of births now are C-section. So it's like, it's a mixed bag. And this is why when we really can trust our intuition and our heart and know that we're going to not have any translator, Reb, this has been so clear to me. All of this nonsense has occurred because I've allowed someone to translate my direct connection to God and God's voice through me, or the universe. I don't care what you call it, the divine, through you. Only I can hear that. And only I can hear that in stillness. So I don't need someone to tell me how to God myself, how to be.
I like that. That makes sense.
Or label myself a Christian or a Protestant or whatever you want to label it. And then I have to follow these set of rules because you told me to, or the doctor told me to take these drugs, or the doctor told me I have to inject myself with this or that. Only I have that sovereignty to know what's right for me. And then
I'm going to be going through this real soon. I got to go back to my heart doctor next week. And I was AFibing, and they did a procedure to cauterize my heart to get it beating. The beat instead of beat. Anyway, so I supposedly in the right rhythm now, and but I have to make a decision about they put me on some Eliquis and some other things I want to get off of, and I'm going to get off of them. I've decided that I'm done.
Well, the Eliquis is what ends up killing you, not the AFib.
It's killing me. I can feel it. I can feel. And I've been reluctant to taking it just because I want to go to the doctor, and it's fear.
Oh my God, yeah, it's fear, and it's not like, let's be honest, it's a industry that has gone haywire with power and money, so that the way they get us invested in taking these drugs is fear. Oh my God, if you don't have optimal vitamin D levels, you're going to get all these autoimmune disorders. Meanwhile, vitamin D or cholecalciferol is rat poison. I can go out in the sun for 20 minutes and store this cholecalciferol that's converted perfectly for what my body needs in my fat cells, and I can store it all winter if I need to. My body's perfect. So the second we interfere with that, the second we think we know more or know better, all of a sudden now we're in poison. All right, so we are wrapping up. Reb, where can people find you?
They can find me at pollenranch.com.
I'll have the links in the show notes. Don't worry about writing it down.
Pollenranch.com. I don't really have any music. I don't have my any. I've not made a webpage for my music. I just write songs. But you can find me under Reb Firman. Usually there's some of my songs on CD Baby. And
oh, well, maybe we'll have to put your songs together and give you a nice little website. I could.
So I will do that. It's one of the many projects I could do. But I've had one of my fun things is when you put out to the universe a song. I sent out a song 2 or 3 years ago to Coast to Coast Radio, which I love, Coast to Coast Radio. And they had on Sunday, they play a song they pick out from people to send in songs. And they pick out the best ones from all over the country. So my song got played one time at 4 a.m, and my friend calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm hearing your song on the radio." And Coast to Coast, it's a national radio. And that was a real, to put something out, to put just your, and it was a heartfelt song. It was a very sweet song. And I was so grateful that I did that. I got on TV shows. I'd send out songs, and sometimes they get played, and it's just a joy for no other reason, just for your ego, just for the fun of it. Just say I did it. That's
not necessarily your ego, but okay. So
joy.
That's
it's a joy. It's my joy.
It's your joy. It's your joy, and that's okay.
And then I didn't want to talk about fennel a lot, but there's too in depth. But one of the stories of fennel, I'm going to be real brief here. there was a plant called Silphian, which is an old, it was a form of fennel that only grew in Cyrene in northern Syria. And there's a 125-mile strip, about 3 miles wide. It's like, they said about 600 BC that this rain came down, and it's tar kind of looking rain, and it covered this area, and that's the only place it would grow. And it becomes so valuable in the Mediterranean for trading this fennel pollen. They put it on coins. They used it for an abortion. It could create an abortion for women. They did all sorts of things with it. It's very medicinal. But the problem was this one place where it grew was in such demand that the people who took care of it for 600 years really made sure that it didn't get overgrazed, it didn't get cut down. They protected it. It would not be domesticated. This was a wild crafted, it will not be domesticated. And the Romans came in and took over, and in 100 years, they destroyed the entire crop of it. It's not to be found anywhere in the world now because of greed, man's greed. And
what did I tell you when you told me that story before? Let's go find it. And that'll be our second show.
No, let's go find it. Well, we'd have to go to Syria.
Let's go to Syria.
It's a very dangerous place right there, but why not?
Why not? People say Oakland's more dangerous, and I would believe them. And I go to Oakland and see patients, so I think we'll be fine.
And but anyway, this story was fascinating. I hope to have it on my website that people can read it. It's very fascinating. Hey, I want to read this last little paragraph. She's such a great writer. She said, "Such is the paradox of fennel. Ego needs to be tempered by empathy before it can become an ally, not a child, a remedy, not a toxin, a tool, not an instrument of self-destruction. And it will require work on other paths of the tree of life to see, finally, the beauty of ease, unwitting decision to become self-aware."
Wow.
So beautiful that she saw this. She saw the fennel and the spices and the whole as an entire from the Garden of Eden. It is that we are all integrated. We're all part of one. We cannot just strip something and use it up and destroy it because of greed.
Well,
we cannot do it. We have to. In my mind, I think we should protect these plants, and I'm growing fennel now, and I've got and I'm becoming a farmer, and I love that fact that we can generate it, we create it, we caretake it, and we protect it, and we honor it because it's part of us, it's part of our lives, and pollen is a part of all of us. Everything pollinates. You go out to any field, any day you go hiking, everything's pollinating. They're busy having sex. The bees are flying. The birds are. This is our world.
You can't take anything out of the ecosystem without disastrous results. And same with us. We can all work together and stop creating this separation and thinking certain people are poison and certain people aren't. And let's all just come together in this place of I am exuding my essence, my heart center, my soul, and I respect yours.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
But doesn't mean I need to be best friends or be in relation with others. It means I respect your viewpoint and I respect your choices once you wake up to what it is that we're doing. So if you're making choices from this hungry ghost corporation, no, that's not okay. That's not okay. But if you're awakened to your heart, nobody's heart is going to destroy the planet. Nobody's heart is going to only want more and more and never be satisfied. That's not how the heart works. So in conclusion, Reb, I appreciate all that you've done for this planet, all of your waking up. I will have all the links to your wonderful Pollen Ranch on the show notes. Right. Any one sentence that you want to leave our listeners with that sums up your heart space in this moment?
When someone's taking your picture, look into the camera and say, "I love you. You're beautiful." and you'll smile. That's all I got. It'll change your life. And say that to yourself every morning. You will, it doesn't matter. The truth is that your truth. It's nobody else's truth.
Yes.
And that smile and that glow will infuse you like pollen. It's a grain of pollen. Those thoughts are little grains of pollen. And they join in and they create. And if we put in the grains of fear and suspicion and oh, you got me, you gave me COVID, you were around me, you were close to me, and you didn't tell me, and all that fear stuff that we're doing to each other now. Please, people, stop.
Please stop.
Love everyone. Love yourself. If you get COVID, you're not going to die. The very 0.02.
Stop using that word. I don't even acknowledge that word.
People die every day. We die all the time. We're dying, but we're living, and live till you die. Live every breath till you die.
Don't be so afraid of dying that you don't live.
No, absolutely. Because we are infinite. And at any moment, we are infinite. And enjoy when you are with your son or you're looking someone in the eye, this is an infinite, beautiful moment. And just know that. It's forever. It's yours to hold on to and love. And that's all I got.
And in closing, I love that because there's like Zach Bush, and I feel like he is the microbiome speaking through him. I feel like that mushroom hunter that is just, loves to mushroom hunt. It's the mushroom speaking through him. I feel like talking to you is a pollen speaking through you. That's gorgeous. So thank you, my brother.
Pollen.
I appreciate you. I appreciate.
We'll see you soon.
You're showing up, and thank you for being on the Medicine Girl podcast.